uh, one attendee from the public so far. Good evening, Ms. Furman. So we'll call the meeting of the City Council study session of September 1st, 2020 to order. And our city clerk is online and she has identified all the members of the council who are present. All are present. Lori, are you listening?
Yes, sir.
And you got the roll. Okay, thank you. Then we're going to jump right in, folks. We've got some good agenda items tonight. We're going to start with the comprehensive plan update, capital facilities plan, and Tammy Merriman is going to present.
Wow, I'm first on the agenda.
Oh, sorry.
I am actually here. That surprised me. I haven't seen the agenda. I'm never first on the agenda. So I'm going to share my screen, and what I have on my screen, if the host would allow me to do that. The Comprehensive Plan and Growth Management Act requires that we update our capital facilities plans annually. We have a little bit of a backup in that we didn't do it in the last year or two. So we went through all of our capital facilities plans. That includes our parks plan, which was updated in 2017, our transportation system plan, which is 2009, our downtown transportation strategy or downtown corridor plan that we just recently adopted in 2019, our water system plan, our general sewer plan, and the stormwater management plan. And all of those plans, they plan for the next 20 years of growth. So they list a lot of projects that are needed to keep our facilities up to date. Let's see if I can share my screen yet. Thank you.
There you go.
Sorry about that. So in order to do that, we went through all of these plans, pulled out all of the projects that were not in our existing capital facilities plan and added them to that list of projects. And I'll get to that table very shortly. The Planning Commission then took a look at these projects. We presented it to the public in two Planning Commission meetings. We had a general Planning Commission meeting. It was posted on our website. And then the Planning Commission held a public hearing to receive any comment on the table of projects that are included. With the public hearing, there was no specific comments, and the Planning Commission has forwarded this capital facilities plan update to council for review and adoption. And the plan, or the table includes, come on, computer. And technology is not my friend.
Aww.
So I'm going to stop sharing the screen and I'm just going to talk about the table. I'm sorry. I am so sorry for this. This just is a struggle that I have quite often.
Well, we appreciate the background picture anyway.
Well, so the table includes all of the projects from all of these plans, and the table includes two sections, and this is in your agenda package for next week. But the table includes plans that are projected that could be done in the next 10 years or that might be pushed out to the next 20 years. And the way those plans were divided was what was more of the urgent need or what was some of the projects that could reasonably be funded in the 10-year future as opposed to the full 20-year future. And so when looking at that, we've divided those out. We worked with Public Works, Grant and I in community development and went through those projects and listed them out. It was really exciting to put the new projects in from the Parks Plan and the Transportation Plan, maybe because I was involved in updating those. They seem to be a little more fun and exciting than the sewer plan, but anyway, with that table, those are projected. The reason that we have the capital facilities plan is not only to plan for the future, but also when we go out for funding, if we're looking for any grants or federal or state funding assistance, if they're not in our capital facilities plans, then we wouldn't be eligible for that funding. So it's good to have them on there. The plan is updated annually or should be updated annually. So just because it's in the 10-year horizon or the 20-year horizon doesn't mean that that's exactly when it's going to be done. As we know, the projects can be moved around based on what funding availability there is. But it does meet the Growth Management Act in that it's divided out. I have to apologize one last time that my had the technical difficulties, but I wanted to have this out there, give that little explanation and background before it was presented to you at your meeting next week. And I'd be happy to answer any questions, but it's hard to ask questions when you can't see the tables.
So Tammy, for the purpose of discussion, it would be nice if we could see the table. Is that a file that you could email to Grant and have him try to share it from his screen?
It is available on the cities, on the within the city infrastructure. If he is able to pull that up, that would be great.
What do you say to that, Grant?
I'm clicking on my folders instead of the microphone. I'll be just a minute.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I should have saved it onto my desktop as opposed to.
Councilmember DePino, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Tammy, could you just go ahead and start just talking about which projects there are? If you can get up, great. But if not, could you at least talk about every project that's on? There's only like less than 20, isn't there?
Oh, I think there's more than 20 projects. I'm not driving.
At least?
For the 10-year capital facilities. I'm sorry, go ahead.
The screen is up, Tammy, with the plan, starting with table 9. So you go ahead and start with your presentation on that.
So in the 10-year capital facilities plan, we have a list of park projects. That includes our Prairie Line Trail connecting to SR 510, and then also connecting that line to, the Prairie Line Trail that goes from the city of Yelm through Roy, and then connecting also a connection with Longmire Park to our new Yelm Loop alternate. It includes a trailhead, a picnic area, and restrooms at the skate park. It also includes planning ahead for the additional park acreage that's needed to meet our level of service in the parks plan. It includes the completion of the city's park master plan, included an off-leash dog park, pump park, Longmire Park drainage, which is actually under construction right now, and then a multi-use path within Cochran Park. Going down to the transportation projects, some of the projects have been in our transportation system plan for a long time, but a lot of the projects that were listed in the downtown transportation corridor that we just recently updated are now added onto this list so that we can start looking for funding to start implementing some of the exciting projects that were in that plan. That included some of the new ones would have been in the civic area around 2nd Street, City Hall, and Yelm Avenue and 2nd Street includes changes in that area as well as on 507 and 1st Street. Water for the water projects is planning out for the 10-year, is keeping work on our water rights mitigation plan, the construction of the Southeast Yelm Reservoir, which is proposed to be down near 103rd and Walmart, and then keeping up with our distribution system project improvements. For the water reclamation projects, I know that you're pretty well familiar with the phase 2 upgrade to the MRV conversions and the sludge dryer, which are currently, I'm not sure where they're at exactly, if they're out to bid or you've already approved it, but that's being worked on. And then for stormwater projects, the stormwater plan is fairly new, and these are just projects that help with the stormwater facilities that we have on Yelm Avenue that tend to flood a lot, like the corner of 507 and Clark Road, and just getting those stormwater inlets cleaned out. And then just for general government projects, the wayfinding program, which was a signage program, came out of the downtown transportation corridor study. Those are the projects that were in the 10-year plan. The next table includes projects that are further out. For the park plan, the only other additional projects was the additional parkland needed to meet our level of service. Transportation projects, these were the ones that were didn't qualify as having the greatest benefit or the ease of getting funding, and then also maybe even the cost and how much it would be to get that done.
Hey, Tammy, this is Molly.
Hi, Molly.
Hi, I'm glad you can hear me. I'm calling in from my phone. I have a question on the, whoops. Okay, sorry about that. I had a question on that one page that you were on that had the pictures there. Yeah, go up a little bit on that page. There you go, parks. 48 additional acres of parks between now and 2040. Do we have any idea of where, I mean, has anybody started suggesting where we're gonna put those?
That information is discussed in more detail in the parks plan itself. I don't have it in front of me, but I know that the parks board did look at areas where we could possibly bring in additional parkland. And there is a need for the northwest corner of town. So north of Yelm Avenue West and east of First Street, which would be out by Killian Road and Tahoma Boulevard and so forth. On that northern side of Yelm Avenue, there's just really no public parkland there. So that was one of the areas that they were focusing on. But that also might mean expanding current parks, or, you know, as property is annexed in, then trying to just make sure that there's adequate acreage around. And also for the level of service, that acreage could be reduced or enlarged based on the type of park it is. Their level of service that they provided brought in a point system for what the park provided, such as Yelm City Park provides a greater benefit in a smaller area than just an open space where you could walk around, due to the splash park, the playground, the community center, and so forth. So it rated on a point system a little bit higher.
Okay, so is that actually 48 additional acres, or is that just 48 acres of additional park? So like you could add acres to Longmire or Cochrane, or you could add acres to City Park, or is that you have to, these are brand new parks that they have? I'm a little confused about the word additional and where, and its placement there.
Okay, it's actually land, 40 acres of land. So it could
Okay.
be in addition to existing parks, expanding existing facilities, or creating new.
Okay, thank you very much.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Terry.
Tammy, could you go back to the first page, please? Okay, so the other one. Yeah. So where the numbers are, is that just approximate value of what we need to spend? And when it says grant match, is that our half, or is that total, of which half would be grant? Just to clarify those figures.
The figures that you see, the funding figures, are most of them are estimates. A lot of the estimates have come from the water They're mostly estimates. However, some of the projects, like the water reclamation facility, we actually have those numbers to use. I can't remember exactly which ones, but such as the water reclamation facility, I can't remember what it's called, the project, the $25 million
The
project.
new one, yeah.
Have been discussing. Those numbers came from actual estimates. Longmire Park drainage, those local funds, we already know what that's going to cost because that work is underway.
So for instance, the pump park, you're saying 200,000, we would go for a grant for half of that amount.
Well,
with a
yes,
match.
if it's 200,000, we'll go for a grant to get as much as we can.
Okay.
And when you go out for a grant, the local match, it varies based on the grant. So it would be impossible to say today,
Okay.
if we go for a $200,000 grant, if we're going to have a 50% match or an 80% or a 20%, it really is based on the funding availability.
Okay, doesn't have to be half and half.
Not necessarily.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Joe.
Thank you, Mayor. Kind of going off of what Councilmember Kaminsky was talking about, where it says grants and local match, would there be a way to get a breakdown of how much money is going to be, or estimated, how much is going to be going towards grants and how much is going to be expected out of the city of Yelm?
Well, again, as I mentioned or responded to Terry, it really depends on the grant availability.
Sure. No, and I understand that there's a max, but usually there's like a max award value. Like, I don't know, RCO has, like, let's say a program for outdoor baseball fields for $1 million max with a match of 150,000 or a 2 times match or whatever the match is for the city, 30%, whatever it is. Would that be possible to put on there so we can, like, for me, $1.5 million, if we're going to pay 1.4 million of that and get $100,000 for grant money, that's a non-starter for me. I don't want to pursue that trail. But if it, you know, if it's 90% match money or 90% grant money, that makes a huge difference for me. And I'm sure the taxpayers of Yelm too.
Well,
This is Grant. I'll try to help Tammy with this. No, it's not possible to do that because you don't know what grant you're going to go after. It depends on what's available, and everyone is different. If we went to the, for example, the state legislative capital fund, there's no match requirement. So we could ask for the entire thing. So it is completely situational, dependent on at the time that the council decides to move forward with the project.
So we have no idea what sort of grant money we could expect.
Correct.
Okay. I'm probably going to be a no vote on every single one then, just FYI.
Go ahead, Tammy, and continue.
Oh, I think we were on the 20-year.
Yes.
And again, these projects came right out of the system plan, the transportation system plan, the water system plan, and the park plan with the estimated cost. Putting them in the 10-year and the 20-year outlook is just trying to not get too overextended and trying to get them all done right away, but trying to divide it out to show and how to plan ahead for these funding. After the transportation projects, the water and sewer projects, if you go down a little bit, Grant. Most of the water projects are increasing our water system availability and transmission. And then for the sewer treatment plant, it's just continuing with the system upgrades. The stormwater projects, they were all somewhat small and probably more easily achievable, stayed on the 10-year. And then for the government projects, we moved the new city hall project from the 10-year to the 20.
Go ahead, Joe. Sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. Could you talk a little about the new city hall? I haven't heard anything about this project. Could you talk just a little bit about it?
The new city hall has been on our capital facilities plan for many, many years. There was talk about purchasing land near the public safety building at one point. It was long before we actually purchased and moved into the current city hall that we have. It's just showing that at some point in the future, there's going to be the need for a larger building or facilities to be able to handle the city hall functions. As far as I know, it's not a specific planned project at this
Okay.
time.
And you said it was in there prior to when we purchased our new city hall building?
Correct. It's been on this capital facilities plan for many years.
Can we take it off now that we have a new city hall?
Well,
Well, this is brought to, excuse me for jumping in, Tammy. This is brought to us by the Planning Commission as a recommendation. It's up to the council if you want to add, take anything off. That's totally up to you. You can voice that concern when we bring this forward as a resolution, and then vote on it then, because we don't vote on things here now. But yeah, it's possible to remove it.
Okay.
And
Yeah, I like to kind of have that discussion. $10 million, you know, I've been trying to keep track. This is what, at least $50 million in projects or so ish. $10 million is a huge portion of it. I'd like to see us, since we just got a new city hall, I'd like to see us take that off at least, you know, in the next, hopefully this will last us more than 10 years. This current city hall that we built for a little over $1 million or so.
I'm with you on that.
And just Grant, back again, just note that that's not a 10-year plan. That's the 2030 to 2040, when our population is expected to be about 25,000.
Thank you for clarification. Yeah, I meant in 10 years. It's 2020 now, 2030 is 10 years from now.
Yeah, all of these projects are on this plan so that we can take a look at them and see all of these different competitive costs are going to be before the council at some point in the next 5 to 10 to 20 years. And where you prioritize them is on this list right here. So when you adopt this at your next council meeting, you can make those adjustments, but know that these will always be a part of our future discussions on which of these projects will alternately come up and down on this list and be available to us as the city grows and has different needs like the parks. But it's completely malleable, and the council can do whatever they want with it when it comes before them as a voting measure.
I don't know if anybody can see me. Grant, my screen is all messed up, so I'm going to leave the meeting and sign back in if that's okay. See if it works. Is that all right?
Yeah, we can see you fine, Terry, but if you want to try to reboot, that's good.
Yeah, no, it's not good on my end. Okay, bye for now.
I want to thank you, Mayor, because you stated that very eloquently. These projects, they're not binding. They're updated annually. They change as our needs change. And it's just really important to plan ahead for the needs of the city, and then to make sure that we have it on our future radar. So if funding does come available, that we are able to apply for it and receive the funding because we've planned for it. And as funding comes available, before any decision is made, that the funding process would go to council for approval. And if say the grant situation, if the match wasn't something that you liked or agreed with, you wouldn't have to approve it.
I have a question from Councilmember Blair. Go ahead, James.
Could you go back to the parks page?
For the 10-year or 20-year?
Whichever one. I believe the dog park was in there.
The 10-year.
So that, if I'm remembering correctly, I think we had an offer of someone that had land that was willing to basically donate that to become a dog park. Has anything been moved on that any further?
I'm afraid I cannot speak for that. I've not been part of those conversations or met with the park board recently. So I don't know the status of that. I know that our Public Works, Pat Hughes, is always on the lookout for these types of opportunities.
So,
If I remember correctly, I think it was Steve Craig, and I think it's a property that's close to the high school, if I remember right. And if, like I said, if I'm remembering correctly, it's like people basically already use it for that. And he was offering for it to be donated to become that. And I mean, outside of putting up fencing, I don't, how much more would we have to spend on that?
so James, no disrespect here, but what we're trying to do is just go over the capital facilities plan in general. And as each one of these comes before the subcommittees that they'd be assigned to, with a proposal such as that, then it would go through our process of coming before the council as something to act on. So it's not for us to discuss or act on any of these in depth tonight, but to just go over them as a general capital facilities plan summary. But to speak more directly, no, we have not been officially approached with a proposal for a particular piece of property by Mr. Craig. And when that does come forward, we have a process that will put it through the mill, and you'll see it again, probably in an executive session when we talk about land acquisition.
All right, thank you.
Councilmember Pino?
Thank you, Mayor. And Councilmember Blair, just to answer your question a little bit more, and without going into the financing or the property acquisition part of it, which we probably want to, some people want to keep secret and all that stuff. There has been talks about the parks creating a dog park, and with a lot of detail into it. We've been asked not to share too much about that due to possible property acquisition and all that stuff. But it's much more than a little bit of fencing. It would include parking and water features, stuff like that for the dogs. So there has been a little more talk. I don't know if it has to be over 100,000 myself. I kind of agree and would like to explore that possibility. But for right now, the powers that be think that there is a possible route at a certain location. So that helps you out anymore, James. Happy to have more offline conversations too with you.
Appreciate it.
Hey, this is Molly. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so this is for James and Joe. Just to clarify what's going on here, these are just really big ballpark figures. None of this is set in stone. I know that Tammy has said that, and JW has already said this, but I don't know if this is clear to you guys that, even though there's a line number for a dog park, it doesn't even mean that a dog park is necessarily going to happen, let alone a pump park for $200,000. But I'm not going to sit here and line item this 20-year plan to say whether or not we should take it out of the 20-year plan right now, because this is something that needs to be brought up when we actually are going to move towards doing that item. But I think, taking it apart right now, this is not the time and the place. If you guys want to do that, go to the community development meeting. But I just think that right now is where we're just getting an overall picture from Tammy. You understand?
Yeah, I got that from Mayor Foster's response. Thank you.
Nicely stated. Let's move on back to Tammy's presentation, please, and not digress into these side discussions on individual line items at this time. Thank you.
Okay, well, that actually is all there is to the tables. And they are, like I said, these projects were not just pulled out of the air. They were pulled from the individual system plans that the water, the sewer, the streets, and the parks in place. So those system plans have all the background information, and now they're placed here so that we can look ahead towards that, and maybe when funding becomes available, use that. This table, staff report, and an ordinance is coming before you on Tuesday, September 8th, with a recommendation from Planning Commission for approval of the table. So I'm not sure. I think that's pretty much all I have to say, and let you see up front what this was before for the meeting.
Thank you, Tammy. Councilmember DePino?
Thank you, Mayor. So just to be clear, we're not supposed to be talking about individual line items on this today, but at the meeting next week, we are. Is that correct?
You certainly have the opportunity at the meeting to adopt the plan as presented to you by the Planning Commission, or to modify it to whatever you'd like it to look like by vote of the council. You'd have to get an amendment by majority vote of the council, and then you'd adopt the entire document by majority vote of the council.
Sure. And with respect to Councilmember Carmody, I do understand where you're coming from, and I'm not trying to bog us down here with issues that aren't important, but these are, maybe not for everybody, but for me, it is very important, line item, seeing where our money is going towards, and where our taxpayer money is being spent at. And not to say you don't care about it, or you don't think this is an appropriate place for it to talk about, but between this meeting and our next meeting, we don't have any other time to pass this. That's the only time we're going to pass it. So, I mean, we can get some of the nuts and bolts out of it now, or we could discuss this longer at the city council meeting.
Councilmember Wood?
Just looking for a little clarification. If I understand this correctly, this is the document we look at on at least an annual basis, that we more so isn't saying that we're going to do these projects. It's just saying that this could be a possibility for us. And in order to get funding for this down in the future, this is a required part of the process. Is that accurate, J-Dub?
That is exactly correct.
Thank you.
All right. So thank you for the presentation, Tammy. And while Kathy's getting ready to share her screen, we'll move on to boards and commissions. And just as a way of introduction, again, tonight's overview by Kathy she's done a great job of dusting off all our boards and commissions and organizing them for us. And you're going to see a really nice picture of what we currently have. And what we'd like the council to do is to review this presentation by Kathy, and then over the course of a month or two, study these things, bring them back to your subcommittees to say, do we need this commission anymore? Is this what this commission is supposed to be doing for our city? And then add or subtract, or whatever you'd like, and then it would come back via the General Government Committee to come into a total document that you could adopt by resolution that would cement these boards and commissions, which we should be by our protocol reviewing and adopting currently every 2 years, but we might want to consider moving that to every 4 years anyway. But that's what this overview will be for you tonight, an update on our boards and commissions. Kathy, are you ready?
Yes.
Have at it.
Okay, good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. I am here to give you an update after our last meeting. Let me open my camera. Oh, 1 second. We have the wrong screen. Sorry about that.
Kathy, if you stop sharing your screen and then start again, you can choose which one it'll ask you which one to share.
There we go. Is that better?
That's it.
Okay, thank you very much. So thank you, Mayor. That was a great start to the information for tonight. I am here to update you on the process progress for the advisory boards and commissions and the next steps. So our goal that we created in this process is really driving all of the work that we're doing right now to set this up correctly. It's a high priority to take the time necessary to set up the boards and commissions for success so that they can provide that support to the council. So our table outlined our opportunities and next steps with our specific actions so that we can create that consistency and continuity that we are striving for. So August research has been complete. We've updated all of the information. And so now we're moving on to September. And like Mayor said, we're asking the council committees to review the advisory boards and the Yelm Municipal Code and make any recommendations and propose those amendments to bring forward for further adoption and updates. So as staff, we've been working on training. We've got that process started. We're working on Public Records Act training. We're working on Open Public Meetings Act training, editing and proofreading skills, meeting minutes, agendas, and also working on the file structure for saving all of our records so that we ensure that we have a consistent management of our records. So when I look at the records, I look at those as a history. So all of those agendas and minutes, you know, by getting the file structure set up correctly now and making sure that everyone is trained to save those correctly, 20 years from now, when maybe none of us will currently be in these positions, someone else is going to be able to come behind us and find those records and know right where to go and be able to see the history. So the Public Works Committee has the Yelm Parks Advisory Committee, and it does have 1 vacancy currently, and also the Yelm Tree Advisory Board with 5 vacancies. The Planning and Community Development Committee has the Planning Commission, of course, which does not have any vacancies. We have the Historic Commission with a vacancy, and then the Rail Advisory Committee with 5 vacancies that currently has been inactive for quite some time.
Kathy, if I could just jump in here to Grant back, the
Yes.
Tree Advisory Board is actually staffed by Community Development.
Okay. Okay. I will change that. I will switch that one over. Thank you, Grant. And then we have under the General Government Committee, the Library Advisory Board, which has also been inactive for quite some time with 5 vacancies. Lodging Tax Advisory Committee with 5 vacancies. We have the Yelm Arts Commission that has been established, but has not been active at this point. We have 5 to 12 positions. And then we also have the Salary Commission. And with Public Safety, the Civil Service Commission and the Police Advisory Committee, which currently as it stands and written now has 12 vacancies. The Public Safety Committee did meet on this, and they have already reviewed and made some suggestions that will come before council when we gather all of this together. So in doing the research, we have the City Council, the Mayor and Council Protocol Manual has Appendix 9, which is the City Council Policy Committees. And within that contains the committee report and recommendation form. So we would like to ask council if when you have at your committees, when you review and make the any suggested changes or edits, that you could use that committee report and recommendation form and submit that through the General Government Committee. So with this process, it's really an ongoing effort and a high priority task so that we can create consistency and continuity for all of our boards and commissions. And also really important to set our volunteers and all of our staff up for success. So we have a lot of vacancies, and I think it's really hard to get volunteers these days. People are really busy, and so I would ask that when you look at the Yelm Municipal Code, when your committees meet, that you keep that in mind. And I don't know if we can make some tweaks or something, or if we have, if we need 12 on a committee, or do we have a goal of 12, but we can operate with less, things like that, you know, if council can review those. So really at the end of the day, if we have the committees and we want them, like I said, to be successful, to be able to review and come back with information to provide it to you, and keep that, you know, that partnership with the city council. And I will forward information to the council members and committee members that I have gathered, so that will give you a little bit of information and a starting point when reviewing the code. And also, if you have any other information that you need, I'd be more than happy to provide you the information. And just with that, I would open it up for questions.
Yeah, Kathy, this is Molly. I have a question.
Okay.
So the tree advisory board, how many people was that? Is that active or inactive? I've missed that one.
I don't have dates on each committee of when they met last.
Well, I mean, does it have enough people? Is it full?
No, it's not. We need some people.
No, it currently
Okay.
has 2 of 7.
2 of 7.
Yes.
So is this the time and place where we discuss whether or not we want these committees? Because I don't really see a need for a tree committee. I mean, wouldn't that be part of, we could lump that into parks or into, some kind of a public works, an overall public works committee, and public works, could include parks. But is this where we're talking about this?
What we would like to do is refer this to the council committees and let you as a council discuss this at your committee level.
Okay.
And come up with exactly those things. That's exactly what we're looking for, is what does the council want with the committees, and if they're not necessary, a recommendation to move forward, whether it, like you said, emerges into another committee, or maybe it's not, maybe it was created a long time ago. It's just not necessary anymore. It doesn't really provide a supporting level or a supporting role to the council.
Okay, so it's going to go to the sub.
We would like you, if you could, review it exactly at that level with your committees, and then make a recommendation back.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, so Molly, I just want to add on to that. So what your department heads will be able to help you with at that committee level is to give you the rationale for why some of these boards exist. So for example, for us to be a Tree City USA, we have to have as a city a tree board that comprises representatives from the general population and from the department. So you'll find out more of those, and Kathy can provide you all with a list of the current members and their term, and we'll take a look at all of that at a deeper level of the subcommittee to see exactly what she just said, which ones are necessary, which ones need to be touched up a little bit, and then where our vacancies lie. You'll also, if you look at 35A of the municipal code or in your protocol manual, there's a rather lengthy section on how we're supposed to fill these vacancies with qualifications, terms of service, and forms and so forth. So if we could all take an opportunity to look at those and then be prepared to have those deeper discussions at your subcommittee meetings. We don't have to have this done yesterday. We want to take our time and do it right and get the greatest opportunity for volunteers from our community to serve. So that'll be coming forward to you in the next week or so, Kathy?
Yes, I'll get emails out to all of you and provide the information. And like I said, once you get that, if you want more information, please let me know. I'd be happy to provide that. I think just like Mayor Foster said, I think it's really important that we take the time to review this and, make the changes and get it set up right. And then we can move forward and try to, get some more volunteers. But if we can get it set up and do the background work first, before we get that process going.
I appreciate that. And that's just one of the many balls that Kathy is juggling here as she's learning how to do her job with the team. And it's been great working with her. So thank you, Kathy, for your work on this project too.
Thank you.
And now, the moment Heidi's been waiting for. We'll have the budget calendar and budget development process overview. Tell us where we are in the budget development, please, Heidi.
I will do. Let me share my screen here. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, let me move this out of the way. Okay, so tonight I'm going to give you a quick overview on the 2021-2022 budget development schedule. Let's see here. So to know where we're going, we need to pay attention to where we've been, and we're doing that and have done that as laid out in the budget resolution that was the budget cycle resolution that was passed last fall. We did a routine budget review and adjustment both in March and in July. Our next one is scheduled for November. And so looking forward to the next budget cycle, we started preparing for 21-22 in August, or excuse me, in July and through August. We issued the official budget call. We developed projections for the base budget, which included salaries and benefits and revenue estimates. We had a meeting and we did an internal needs assessment. And that takes us to September, where really the bulk of the work is done. We're going to prepare the mayor's proposed budget, and that includes finalizing projections and incorporating new requests that our funds are available for, as well as developing the final budget book, the budget document. If the council should have any interest or any special interest or request they would like to see considered during this period before the actual budget gets presented to you all, we would like to request that you submit those requests on the form that Kathy had shown during her presentation. It's just the general form that you guys use and give to the General Government Committee, and I'm sure they'll be happy to pass it on to us. If anybody needs a copy of that form, I'd definitely be happy to send it out.
Please do, Heidi.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Councilmember DePino.
Thank you, Mayor. Understanding that you want us to use that proposal sheet that was shown earlier, are all these just going to go straight to the mayor and to the executive team, or will some of them be redacted by the General Government Committee? Are they going to be, I don't see the point of handing it to the General Government Committee.
That's just your normal procedure, so I was just going with that. But if you'd like to email it to me, go ahead.
And we'll see them all, Joe.
Yeah.
Okay, so can I just send it directly to you, Mayor?
I would prefer that we follow the process that's been developed by the council, adopted by the council to bring things forward to the council. So if we get it through the General Government Committee, CC me and Heidi and Michael, that's fine. But that way it's got a paper trail of walking through our system and everybody has an opportunity to submit their suggestions.
We didn't adopt those measures though, Mayor. It was never voted on. It was just discussed in today's session. These would be, that's why we're having this conversation, so we can have the actual vote and all that stuff. But if that's the preferred method, as long as my ideas get through, I just want to make sure that they see your eyes and all that. They get through.
Absolutely, they will.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So at the very beginning of October, we're going to mail out the completed budget document, the preliminary budget, to council. And then on the October 13th meeting, we'll dive deeper into it, starting with the mayor's budget message. We'll do revenue and long-term financial projections as well.
I'm going to pause it for just a second so Councilmember Wood can ask a question.
Sure.
Just clarification, the government committee does not weed out anything. The only thing the government committee does is decides which committee needs to look at it in order for it to move forward to get to council. Just a point of clarification.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We can move on from that discussion.
Yeah,
So
okay.
that we understand how the process works.
Okay.
Go ahead, continue.
Okay. So October 20th is the third Tuesday in the month. And so if we should need a budget workshop, we can schedule one on that day if it's needed. October 27th, we'll have our first of 3 public hearings. This one will be to discuss revenue. After that, it will adjourn into a budget workshop where presentations from department heads will begin. On November 3rd, that's a regularly scheduled study session. We will have a budget workshop that will continue to have department head presentations. On November 10th, we'll have our public hearing on the ad valorem, as well as the second of the 3 required public hearings to give the citizens an opportunity to give input on the budget. That will adjourn into a budget workshop, which will include yet more department head presentations. Then in November, there's also a chance to have a budget workshop on the 17th if we should need one. And moving right along to November 24th, we'll have our budget review and adjustment for this current budget cycle. And then we'll also have the third and final public hearing on the preliminary budget with the opportunity to adopt the budget at that time. If work still needs to be done, we could have an additional budget workshop on the regularly scheduled study session on December 1st, and then adopt the budget on December 8th. And that is the high level overview. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, then, well, thank you. Don't hesitate to reach out to me if you come up with anything that you need answered. Thank you.
Heidi, you made that so clear. It's a great process. I like the way the council we've worked this differently over the years, but our budget has continually improved to the point that we're getting awards for it over the past few years. I think we can be all very proud of what this accomplishes. This year, council, I'll just ask you up front here, we are in an interesting place in our ability to predict revenues. What you'll be presented with by the different departments at those workshops will be the very basics necessary to maintain our current flow as a city, so to speak. And anything in addition to that is going to have to be very well documented and proven out. And we're going to have to make sure that we have the dollars to buy the donuts, so to speak. But we'll walk through that process. And again, I have great faith in Heidi's ability to help us navigate this challenge of creating a biannual budget for the second time.
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to go on to the mayor's report. And although I have a tendency to go on in what you might call a mayor-thon, I just made that pun up. I thought that was a pretty good one. A couple of nods, a couple of squirms. That's all right. That's what I usually get. I have nothing specific to report as far as new initiatives. So I'm going to move right on to council member initiatives, and we'll start with council member Carmody. Excuse me.
I don't really have anything to say other than I don't know if I'm super comfortable with the request form going to the general government committee. You know, I don't feel like it's their purview to sort of veto something that, you know, we might send before it even hits the rest of, you know, before it even hits the mayor's desk. I'd like to request that we actually do budget requests, you know, specific budget requests as a separate document that does not go directly to the general government committee.
You can submit your budget request any which way you would like then.
Okay, thank you. I will do that. Otherwise, I have nothing to really discuss. Intercity transit is next week, and all of my committee meetings are in the next coming weeks. So that's all I got.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Blair? James, you there?
Yeah, sorry, it was, I went to go unmute it and then it minimized the whole thing. I haven't had anything over the last week. The next SWAC meeting, I believe, is next week. I'll have to double check the date on it. But I should have some other updates on the next meeting.
All righty. Councilmember Curry?
I have no initiatives.
All right, good. There we go. Thank you. Councilmember Stillwell?
I have a lot of initiative, but none I want to bring.
Nothing to bring up for council tonight. Okay. Councilmember Wood?
Well, I'd actually like to talk about our council meeting last week. I'd like to talk about the situation, as it were. As everyone here knows, I did a records request, and Councilman DePinto, I feel it's my responsibility in a situation, feel that there's something underhanded or not quite on the up and up taking place. I feel it's my responsibility as a council member to nip it in the bud. And if that means doing a records request, then so be it. But what I found with my records request is a Open Public Meetings Act violation. An Open Public Meetings Act violation means it in this particular case includes an email that included 4 different council members. And there was in fact 4 different council members that were reached out to on this particular email chain. It seemed odd to me just simply because I thought we were we all were in agreement that once again, the local government committee does not nix or 86 or decide anything as far as what is worthy of passing on to other committees. That's not the job of this committee. It's the job is to decide which committee, not whether or not it goes to a committee, but which committee. I also found some information, Council Member Carmody, in reference to, and this is why I asked and mentioned it felt personal. I actually have dug up some interesting emails that clarify that, in fact, is accurate. That wasn't me being paranoid or concerned. I tracked it back to that because it just common sense took me there. I think at this point, we're going to have to figure out as a council what we can do. It's also been brought up in that same email chain that I've been on. I'm in my 3rd term, and I haven't done anything for the city in my 3 terms. Well, let me give you some clarification there. I personally have not, but I've worked with a fantastic council for the most part over the years, and we've gotten a whole bunch of stuff accomplished. And I don't think I need to go through the explanation and give a big pat everybody on the back. I think we've all been through it and we all know. I just think that this is something that needs to stop, and I think we need to address this right now, because frankly, Council Member Carmody, this isn't the first issue we've had. I mean, I don't think I need to go into detail about the situation with her in the high school's lack of interest in having her come back and visit them any longer.
Councilmember Wood, I'm gonna stop you there, and I don't want any personal attacks made. That's just making it worse. If you have a statement of concern about how the council is interacting, I'd prefer that you state that more directly or more generally, please.
Yes, sir. I believe we have a problem here that needs to be addressed, and I don't think that we ought to overlook it any longer. That's what I have to say, and I could certainly use some help from any of my other fellow council members that feel that this is inappropriate on all levels.
Councilmember DePinto, do you have something to add?
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with Councilmember Wood. It's very appropriate to attack someone one-on-one like this, and it shouldn't be done here in these meetings. This isn't what these meetings are for. Council retreats are a great way to hash all this stuff out, personal issues. But I want to be clear that I did not say anything as you were insinuating that this was a personal thing for me. Councilmember Wood, that is a straight up lie. And I'm on the record for saying that. So I've not told Councilmember Carmody, as you implied, that I want you out, or I think that whatever you're insinuating. That didn't happen. And I didn't request those emails and those messages, so I don't know personally. I don't know what they were. But if you want to send them to me and forward it to me, happy to take a look at them, discuss it offline. But I don't appreciate that being attacked personally like that, especially in a city council study session like this. Very inappropriate.
Okay, I'm going to have one more rebuttal by Councilmember Wood, and then I'm going to sort of sum this up a little bit. Okay, go ahead, Tracy.
Councilmember DePinto, if you want to go back and watch this video, you'll realize that I did not say that you wanted me out. That was not specifically directed at you, and I'm not sure. Like I said, go ahead and review the video, and you'll see that you're mistaken.
Okay, well, I hope you all feel better about getting this aired out a little bit. Let me just remind you all of something. This is my job as moderator of these meetings. And by the way, at study sessions, we all have equal opinions and ability to share as elected officials. It's at the council meetings that the council deliberates and makes the decisions. But here in this more informal setting, we're supposed to be able to talk some things out and move things along by consensus. Councilmember Wood makes an excellent point that none of us, not the mayor, not individual council members, have done anything on their own over the past decade, since 1924 actually, teams of concerned citizens have come together as council members and mayors to move the city in a positive direction through our actions. And we should all be proud of the fact that we've taken the time as citizens to do so, and to thank our boards and commissions for the participation that they've had. We have a very good process by getting this stuff done. We will be taking a look at the protocol manual and review that like we're supposed to every few years. And in that process of reading that protocol manual, you're going to find that there's some rules that reinforce what you should have learned in your training as council members about the Open Public Meetings Act and the Public Records Act. And that does reinforce the fact that our meetings are supposed to be public and transparent. People asked me to do this when I got appointed mayor, and we've made great strides, I believe, as a council and a city government in becoming more open and transparent and responsive to our citizens. Having closed meetings by email or by text message or by off-site meetings in person does not advance that method of working as a transparent, open city government. So just a reminder to everybody, we discuss these things fully at committee, at study sessions, and then we discuss them fully and openly in public at council meetings where they're acted upon by you as a council. So please, we've done a lot of good work together, and I would like to continue working in a positive way into the future. So thank you for allowing me a little oratory on that.
JW, if I could speak up on what Mr. Wood had to say.
When I say that I'm done speaking, I'll call on you if you'll ask.
Sorry about that.
Raise your hand. Okay. So again, thank you, council, for the work that you've done and the work that you'll continue to do. I appreciate you very much. So Councilmember Carmody, would you like to add something?
Yeah, I'd just like to say that the email that I sent out one email, but I sent it out separately. I sent one to Tad, and then I sent the same email separately to Joe and James. There was not an Open Public Meetings Act violation. I sent out two separate emails. It was the same content, but it was two separate emails. So I was very sure to not violate the OPMA. I mean, I'm not going to do that.
We're not a legislative body that's going to discuss whether you did or not. If somebody wanted to make a claim in court that there was a violation of the OPMA, that body would make the decision on whether that was a rolling meeting or not. But that's your opinion on how that went. That's fine. Okay, Councilmember DePino.
Well, I was planning on just not saying anything, but now that you bring up a good point, there should be more transparency. And I do appreciate some of the transparency that you brought to the city, Mayor Foster. I think that has been something that has been a serious concern of yours. I think we should add it a step further. And while we aren't required by the OPMA to record our committee meetings, we talk a lot of shop there. We talk a lot of business that the city of Yelm does in these 3-person committees that are headed up by a department head. I would love to see it and I understand how the logistics would work for cameras and all that stuff. So we don't necessarily have to do that, but perhaps just an audio recording of those meetings, those subcommittee meetings, those committee meetings that we have that are led by department heads that talk about city business, like the general government committee, discuss what they have a recorder in there just to hear what they have to say. So it's public for anyone, the council members or the public to know about. In my opinion, that would be a lot more transparent than it is currently. And if I have to do a proposal to the general government committee itself, I would love to do that and then have it worked up to a study session and city council vote.
Now that right there, folks, is an example of an initiative that you bring forward at a study session. And yeah, write that up on the form that you've all agreed to use by consensus again. And we can discuss that at a study session about how we could add some more transparency to those subcommittee meetings. Thank you for
Sounds
bringing
good.
that up.
Thank you, Mayor. That's all I have.
Okay. Councilmember Kaminsky, who has submitted a budget request proposal. Nicely done.
Thank you. Well, on a lighter note, although I did not attend the last Bounty for Families meeting, I understand that they have permission to continue the farmers market through to
Yes.
December every other week. And this is very, very important because we all know it's EJ Curry's favorite place to be on Saturdays.
It is.
That's my report.
Yeah, and you know what? The farmers market's been up above 350 in attendance every Saturday. They're doing better and better. I'm sure they're going to have their best financial year ever, despite all of the restrictions. And if you want to see a business, so to speak, doing the COVID-19 precautionary guidelines right, go to the farmers market. You can feel completely safe there. And you see some great vendors and have a very nice social interaction and a pretty good hot dog too, if I might say. Those are some really good hot dogs. But in addition, Bounty for Families is a great organization locally. They work with the farmers market, of course, but they got a USDA grant that brought fresh produce boxes to Yelm to help to augment our summer food program that the Rotary and Yelm Lions Club had been participating in. And that's continuing for the next couple of Wednesdays. And I bring that up because it's a date change for the produce boxes. They've been doing it in conjunction with the Tuesday food distribution that the Rotary's been doing. But logistically, they had to change. So 10 to noon on at least the next few Wednesdays at the same distribution points, the Yelm Community Center, the Pines office right inside the gate there, the Rainier Administration office, and the Clearwood gate. So people just come up, get a box of fresh produce. Pretty amazing support for our community. And we're revisiting the much anticipated, as you all, many of you remember anyway, we agreed to have a exhibition garden, if you will, a learning garden within the confine of the Yelm City Park. And the Bounty for Families team and Cody Colt and others have met to reinvigorate that project, and we should be able to see that starting to take shape pretty soon as well. And then lastly, on the parks thing, so glad you brought that up. If you go to our website, we have a new button that you can push on under parks that Brianna put together that shows what the status of each of our parks is currently, because as you know, some of them have been open and closed, like Longmire's closed now for construction because there's a giant hole in the middle of it we don't want the kids to go into. But as each of those gets updated, Brianna will update that so people have one spot they can go to and go, oh yeah, all right, good. Cochrane is open, Longmire's closed, whatever. So that was a nice addition. All right. That it, Terry?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Well, we don't need a formal motion to approve our informal study sessions, but again, I want to thank staff for their presentations and support tonight, and hope you all have a great evening.
Thank you.